Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and welcome to the ninth annual Strictly Sports Football Feast. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by my elite panel, Good MF Michael Fletcher and Michael Bullock. Normally on this night, it would be Wednesday Night Mayhem, but because of because of this, we are pushing that back to Friday in a wrestling forum version of the football feast. But tonight, it's all about the gridiron. It's all about the pigskin here. We thought we were going to have 3 Thanksgiving games, but no, we're only going to have 2. I'll explain that in a minute. We're going to have 2 Thanksgiving games, and on top of that, we will have the big college football slate as well. Some very exciting matchups for this week. So without any further ado, let's start it off. Let's quickly address the elephant in the room here. This afternoon, right around 3 o'clock or so this afternoon, I received a notification saying that the primetime game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers has been postponed and will not be played tomorrow night. That's the bad news. The good news is it's not going to be, a total postponement. It's only going to be pushed back to Sunday. And because of that, we will not be previewing the Ravens-Steeler game tonight. We will carry that over to our NFL Saturday show when we preview the rest of the week's action. That game is going to be played at a special kickoff time of 1:15. Yes, 1:15, and it will be broadcast nationally on NBC. So instead of having 2 games to flip between at 1 o'clock on Sunday, you're going to have 3. Although I think most of us will have an eye on the Ravens and the Steelers. But it's interesting. My Buffalo Bills are going to be playing at that same time. Bullock's Patriots are going to be playing at the same time. It's going to be a tough go for myself and Bullock because our teams are playing, but that Ravens-Steeler game is just so damn huge. And that's why MF and I dubbed it our game of the week.
Not only that, but even the Dolphins the Dolphins are playing against the Jets. I know it's an easy game, but that's also one game that I like to watch on my cell phone or via the internet with either the Sunday Ticket or by various means. But yeah, I mean that's gonna be a rough Sunday.
But exciting though. I mean, it's the first time in a very long time. I mean, not counting the postseason or anything like that. I mean, when was the last time the NFL aired a regular season game within that 1 o'clock hour on NBC? Probably there last year before they left, before CBS.
I believe it. You got to go back to like 1997 was the last time that we had an NFL Sunday game, regular season Sunday game on NBC.
And get this, that's not going to be the only game. There's going to be 2 NBC games on Sunday. That 1:15 game between the Ravens and the Steelers, and then the Sunday night game, which will be the Chicago Bears against the Green Bay Packers. And they've already announced the announced teams for those games, but I'm going to save that for when we get into the schematics on Saturday night. But if we have time, I'll let you guys know behind the scenes, MF and Bullock. So with all that being said, we wanted to address that elephant in the room. So for the first time since 2005, we are going to have only 2 Thanksgiving games because the 3-game format started in 2006 and has gone on every single year up until last year. And we were supposed to have it, but obviously COVID. I mean, not even the holidays are safe from this thing. Good Lord. But, it is what it is. So, but we'll get into that on Sunday. But for right now, let's not waste any more time here. Let's get into the action here. And we're going to kick it off with the first of our 2 Thanksgiving games. This will be over on CBS kicking off at 12:30 tomorrow. It will be the Houston Texans squaring off against the Detroit Lions from Ford Field in Detroit. Hello, friends. Yes, indeed. It will be Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson. They will be there. No surprise here. According to my note here, Houston opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. So Series history, it favors the Houston Texans by a count of 3-1. The Texans have won 3 in a row against the Lions. The Lions won the first meeting, but then it's been all Houston since. And this is not the first time they played on Thanksgiving. They played on Thanksgiving before. MF, you should know, you and I had it. 2012, that unforgettable 5-star 34-31 overtime game, which featured that infamous Ndamukong Suh moment. We all remember that. So anyways, let's get into this. The Texans have seen a dominant Deshaun Watson with his big arm and fast legs of late. He's needed to play at that high level given the awful run defense and mostly shaky pass defense Houston features on the other side of the ball. Watson is getting it done mostly with his top 2 wideouts, Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks, taking games into his own hands with a traditional rushing attack struggling. The Lions won't be at full strength around Matthew Stafford to make enough big plays to outscore what Watson does. Running back DeAndre Swift will be hard-pressed to return from his concussion, suffered late last week. Wide receiver Kenny Golladay with a hip is iffy to return, and wide receiver Danny Amendola, also with a hip, is headed to miss another game. The Lions struggled to run the ball with Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson in a great matchup last week, so that doesn't inspire without Swift even at home. Detroit didn't score a point last week, playing less inspired with likely lame duck coach Matt Patricia. Meanwhile, Houston has been fired up to save some face after Bill O'Brien was fired. Watson makes the difference again. I'm going with the Houston Texans to win this game. My final score, 27-24. Houston kicks off Turkey Day with a win over Detroit at an empty Ford Field. So not much more to say. MF, Houston and Detroit to kick off our football feast, and this is how we celebrate Turkey Day the ravishing way, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, going into this game, I think we all agreed that, when we saw the schedule, we're like, all right, this might be an okay matchup. We weren't really too enthused about it. But I will say this, to see Houston, and especially what they did last week against the New England Patriots, what a performance. That was an inspired win more than anything else, and I think they're going to keep that momentum going. So I agree. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans to win, and Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Well, first off, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to my fellow compadres here of Anthony Florio and Michael Fletcher. So glad to be spending this Thanksgiving Eve night with you guys. I'm very thankful for that. So, as far as this game goes, I think it's going to be an okay game. And, like you guys said, when you think of the last time these two met on Thanksgiving, you have to think of that overtime game in 2012. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to that. But you never know. We'll wait and see. But Houston coming off a huge win over my New England Patriots. So I expect them to continue that momentum. I got the Texans winning this one as well. So there's nothing more to say. Let's move on to the next game, Florio.
And this game will be kicked off at 4:30 over on Fox. It'll be the Washington football team squaring off against the Dallas Cowboys from AT&T Stadium, Jerry World in Arlington, Texas. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews, they will have it. And according to my my notes here, Dallas opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. Second meeting, they met earlier this season in Washington, and the Washington football team knocked out Andy Dalton and manhandled the Cowboys 25-3 earlier this season, cutting Dallas's sizable series lead to 73-44 with 2 ties. That Washington win snapped a 3-game losing streak to the Cowboys. But the thing is, Dallas has not won. I mean, Washington hasn't won in Dallas since 2015. That was a 34-23 win. So, and MF, who would have thought that two teams with lousy records, this game has NFC Eastern Division implications? Oh my goodness.
I know. It's been a rough year. When it comes to this game, No doubt about it. This is one of those where you're just like, you gotta be kidding me. Really? This could decide who could possibly ultimately win the NFC East and guarantee themselves a home game, by the way. So that's the other kicker on that. So yeah, no, this is, you never know with this game. I'm gonna probably say Dallas, but I'm not convinced. I mean, all right, Dallas came off a big win last week over the Minnesota Vikings, and Washington came off a dominant performance against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, okay, I know, I get it. Well, Mike, you can't really say that because look what happened to Cincinnati. Look what happened to Joe Burrow. Burrow tore his leg. Like, literally, in 3 places. ACL, PCL, and MCL gone. So you're like, oh my God, what are you going to do? Okay, I get it. But they're at home. I think they may have turned the corner, Dallas. I don't know. This is just one of those games you just don't know how to call it. I'm just going to say Dallas because they're at home, but I'm not 1,000% convinced. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean this game could decide. I mean, could come down to who wins the NFC East with the losing records they have. Yeah, I think the last time I remember a team winning a division with a losing record, and I don't know if you guys can correct me on this. I think it's the 2010 Seattle Seahawks. Are either? Am I correct on that, guys?
You're right.
All right.
2010 Seattle Seahawks won the NFC West with a 7-9 record. They beat New Orleans in the wild card round because of that Marshawn Lynch run that we'll never forget. But I think their luck ran out in the divisionals.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to be sure on that. So yeah, yeah. You never know what you could expect in this game. I mean, some would say maybe Dallas has turned the corner, but you never know here. So I'm not fully convinced about the Cowboys. So I'm gonna go with the Washington football team to win this one, but it would not surprise me if Dallas pulls this one off. Florio, it is yours.
So it puts me in the age-old question that we ask on this program a lot. Who do I agree with? Do I agree with MF in Dallas or do I agree with Bullock in Washington? Well, let's find out. The Cowboys got their offense going again without Dak Prescott, thanks to Andy Dalton having some good rest and more time to absorb the offense. Ezekiel Elliott ran hard again, the line played well, and the talented receivers made all the plays that were there in Minnesota. That momentum should carry into a must-win game against Washington, who ripped Dallas and Dalton in Week 7. The Cowboys' defense will be more active to contain the run, namely rookie Antonio Gibson, and the secondary gets a break with Alex Smith's limited weapons. The Cowboys' offense feasts again with balance and some big plays downfield. With the win, the Cowboys would jump back into first place in the NFC East and denies Washington's chances to get ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles. So with that being said, I'm sorry, Bullock, I got to go with MF on this one. I'm going with MF and Dallas to win this one. 24-20, Dallas knocks off Washington. So that is it for that when it comes to the NFL slate. The rest of the slate we will preview on Saturday night as part of NFL Saturday. So now we're going to move into the college football action for this week. And, well, in the immortal words of Bad News Barrett, gentlemen, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. You remember a little while ago I said that not even the holidays are safe from COVID. And, well, this holiday weekend, COVID has wreaked havoc and has knocked out some games this week. Number 25, Tulsa versus Houston, gone. Number 21, Marshall versus Old Dominion, gone. And stop me if this sounds familiar. Number 16, Wisconsin, their game, gone. They were supposed to play Minnesota. And unfortunately, number 7, Cincinnati, their game against Temple, gone. But that's not the worst part of it. One of the big games of this week, not the game of the week, thank goodness, as of yet, but one of the marquee games of this week, unfortunately, that has fallen victim to COVID as well. The game that was slated to be the ABC Saturday night game of the week, Oklahoma and West Virginia, gone. COVID knocked it out. So that means we will not be seeing Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit.
And we just lost Miami and Wake Forest.
Wake Forest and Miami now out.
Yep.
Oh, boy. I hope that's it. I really hope that's it. So, really put the damper, put a little bit of a damper on our football feast there, gentlemen. So,
yeah, let's just say some wild turkeys got away, broke from the roost, and basically said, "We're not being your Thanksgiving dinner. Forget this. We out. We're running."
Yeah, turkeys away, like the unforgettable episode of WKRP in Cincinnati, one of the greatest episodes in television history.
I remember that. I remember that episode. My family. I remember my family laughing so hard on that episode. It's a legendary episode.
Darn tootin' it is. So, yeah. So, that unfortunately is the sad truth here. So, but with all that being said, guys, let's well, actually, hold the phones here. We're actually going to be seeing Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit, but it's not the game you think. So, that's all I can say on that as I look at my announcer sheet here. So, I don't know how ABC is going to fill that slot on Saturday night, but maybe they'll find another game. I don't know. We'll see. But anywho, let's get into it now, guys. The college football portion of this show, and here we go. We're going to start it off with we have 4 games that are going to be going down on Black Friday, and we have one at noon, a 1 o'clock, and two. Actually, a 3:30 and a prime timer. So let's start it off with our first matchup of the week. Big one in the Big 12. One of our games of the week. It's in our top 5, no doubt about it. This will be at high noon over on ABC, and it will feature the number 13 Iowa State Cyclones taking on the number 17 Texas Longhorns. And by the way, the rankings that you hear, the number of rankings that you hear for the teams, they are going to be we are going to be going by from this point forward until the end. It will be via college football playoff rankings. So let's just address that. So number 13 is Iowa State. Texas is number 17. The Cyclones and the Longhorns, they're going to be squaring off. Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium in Austin, Texas. Over on ABC, we have Matt Berry with Mike Golick Jr. and Chris Budden. They're going to be on the call for that. And Texas opening up as a 1.5-point favorite. So Michael Bullock, let's kick off the college football portion of the football feast with you, man. Big one here in the Big 12. Number 13, Iowa State. Number 17, Texas. Who you got?
Yeah, this definitely should be a good one and could definitely position these two teams to see who gets into the Big 12 title game. So, man, this is a tough one for me to call, but because this is at Texas's home field, I'm actually going to go with the Texas Longhorns to win this one. I'm going to go 28-21 is my final score. So, Florio, it is yours.
Yeah. If this game was played on a Saturday full of games with college football playoff implications, it would probably, unfortunately, get lost in the shuffle. but as the no doubt about it marquee game of the early Friday slate, this Big 12 showdown is going to get the national attention it deserves. Iowa State just annihilated Kansas State 45-0 behind yet another stellar performance from the nation's leading running back, Breece Hall. Coupled with Oklahoma State's loss to Oklahoma in the Bedlam game, that put the Cyclones in sole possession of first place in the Big 12 standings. But if Texas can win this home game, there will be a four-way tie in the loss column atop the conference. Conversely, if Texas loses the game, the subsequent quote-unquote fire Tom Herman fallout will be swift and fierce. But I think the Longhorns will eke out the victory considering they're at home. And this is a big, and they usually play well in these pressure cooker games here. I'm going with Texas to win this one. My final score, 31-28, Texas over Iowa State. So nothing really more to say on this. Let's go to our Texas Longhorn fan, good old MF Michael Fletcher. MF, we know how high you are on Texas. Are you high enough on them to win this one on Black Friday?
Yes, I am. I think that they will get the job done. It's not going to be an easy game. This is going to be pretty rough, but I do believe they'll get the job done, and I do believe that Texas will win. So there's really nothing more to add, Anthony. It is all yours.
All righty. Next up, a 1 o'clock kickoff, and this will be over on Fox. We have the number 24 Iowa Hawkeyes, and they're going to be at home, and they're going to be squaring off against the Nebraska Cornhuskers in a nice little Big Ten matchup here, and this will be over on Fox, and I believe. Let me see something here. All right. This will be at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, Iowa. And this will be over on Fox. And I believe it's going to be Brian Custer and Robert Smith. I believe they're going to be on the call for this. Yes, Brian Custer and Robert Smith. And Iowa opening up as a 13.5-point favorite. So let's get into this matchup here. Try to find it here. But I think I got to go with Iowa here. I mean, especially after what happened. Just trying to. It's in my notes here. I know it is. But I like Iowa in this one. I mean, like I said, Nebraska looked absolutely god awful against Illinois. And that's hard times right there if you lose to Illinois. I mean, Illinois is a meh team, and one of the doormats of the Big Ten, and But I mean, Iowa slowly but surely getting back into the mix here, but we'll see if it leads to anything long term. But I'm gonna go with Iowa to win this one. I think they'll win by a couple of scores. I think they'll win this one a little comfortably. I'm going to go 24-10. Iowa wins. So, MF, let's get your thoughts on Nebraska and Iowa.
I agree. I'm going to go with Iowa as well. There's really nothing more to add. Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Iowa to win this one as well, especially, like you said, after Nebraska looked just awful against Illinois. So, yeah, I'm going with with Iowa as well. So there's nothing more to say. Florio, it is yours. Let's move on to the next game.
All right, gentlemen, and it is one of our huge games of the week. I mean, you can make an argument for this to be the game of the week. You can make an argument for the Iron Bowl to be the game of the week, but I think you might have to make an argument for this one to be it right here. This will be at 3:30 on Friday over on ABC. The number 2 Notre Dame Fighting Irish squaring off against the number 19 North Carolina Tar Heels at Kenan Memorial Stadium in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, over on ABC. And this game is so big, they're bringing in the heavy hitters. They're bringing in the A-team, folks. Yes, we're going to see Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit no Maria Taylor. Katie George is going to be sitting in for her on the sidelines. So there's really nothing more to say except Notre Dame opening up as a 5-point favorite. MF, I mean, this has been a magical year for Notre Dame, especially after that emotional win against Clemson a few weeks ago. But now this is probably their toughest game left here. And if they can get by North Carolina, I think it could be smooth sailing for them.
I do believe so, and I do believe Notre Dame will win this game. I think they're going to get a little bit of a scare from North Carolina early because Carolina does really well in Chapel Hill. So I think early in the game, Notre Dame's probably going to feel a little bit of that pressure like they did against Boston College, but ultimately Notre Dame will pull away and blow them out by at least 3 touchdowns. So Notre Dame wins. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, this is a big game here for North Carolina. I mean, they have a chance to pretty much derail Notre Dame's magical season, but Notre Dame looking to keep it going and clear a path towards the college football playoff. So, yeah, I mean, I expect Notre Dame to win this one, but North Carolina is going to come out playing with emotion and knowing that they have a chance to play the role of spoiler, but I don't see that happening. So there's really nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
You thought I was scared about Clemson. I'm actually scared about this game. Let me tell you, this is going to be a major challenge for Notre Dame. North Carolina has averaged 51 points over its last 4 games. Twice during that stretch, North Carolina quarterback Sam Howell threw for at least 440 yards and 4 scores. And in the other 2 games, the Tar Heels rushed for at least 325 yards and 5 touchdowns. They can beat you in a lot of ways. However, Notre Dame has one of the best defenses in the country, especially against the run. And the Fighting Irish can do a fair bit of scoring in their own right, putting up at least 42 points in 5 of their last 7 games, including the big one over Clemson. It will be close. It will be a high-scoring affair, but I agree. Notre Dame should get the win to keep the quote-unquote 2 ACC teams in the CFP dream alive for another week. Notre Dame will survive 38-35. This game's going to be a 5-star Shakespearean drama classic. I truly believe that. So, but I'm going with Notre Dame to win 38-35, and what I strongly feel is the game of the week, in my opinion. So nothing more to say on that. Let's go to a rivalry game, gentlemen, to close out the Black Friday slate here. The Civil War. Oh, yeah, we got the Civil War, babe. Here we go. The number 15 Oregon Ducks squaring off against their hated rivals, the Oregon State Beavers. And give me one second here. This game will be at Research Stadium in Corvallis, Oregon. It'll be over on ESPN. And hang on a minute. All right. On the call for that one, it'll be Dave Fleming with Rod Gilmore and Shelly Smith. I don't have a spread for this game. Maybe MF can find it for us momentarily. But you have to imagine Oregon's got to be a sizable favorite here. So nothing more to say. I believe Bullock gets this one. So Michael Bullock, Oregon State in another installment of the Civil War.
Yeah. This is another battle in the Civil War between these 2 Pac-12 schools. But yeah, I gotta get the edge to Oregon. I mean, Oregon State. Could come out and. I think the thing they got to do, if they have any chance of upsetting Oregon, they got to get off to a good start. And if they can do that and put some pressure on Oregon, they may have a chance. But I don't see that happening. I got Oregon winning this one with no problem. But for Oregon State to get off to a good start, I think that is the only way they can challenge Oregon. So there's nothing more for me to say. Florio, it is yours.
Yeah, it's going to be Oregon here. No question about this. I mean, the alleged best team in the Pac-12 has left a lot to be desired. Oregon is undefeated, but only after overcoming a 19-7 deficit against Washington State and surviving a valiant upset bid from a UCLA team playing on the road with a backup quarterback. It's not exactly steamrolling into the first college football playoff ranking show. The Ducks probably don't need a statement win in the Civil War to stay in the hunt for the CFP, but it would be nice. And they should be able to ride CJ Verdell and Travis Dye to victory against the Beavers defense, allowing 206.7 rushing yards a game. Closer than you might think, but I'm going with Oregon to win. 34-25. Oregon knocks off Oregon State in this latest installment of the Civil War. Make our good friend Eric Carrier happy, I'm sure. So MF, unanimous in the Civil War?
Yeah, I got to go unanimous. I'm going to go with Oregon as well. There's really nothing more to add. So, Anthony, let's just get into the rest of the Sunday of the slate.
Yeah, we move on to the Saturday slate of the schedule now. And the first of 4 high noon games here. And we're going to start it off with the number 4, Ohio State Buckeyes. They're going to be squaring off against the Fighting Illini of Illinois at the Memorial Stadium in Champaign, Illinois. This will be over on FS1, and the A team will be there for this one. Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, the All-American girl Jenny Taft. Ohio State opening up as a 28-point favorite. So I don't think that comes as a surprise to any of us. So all there is to say on this is Ohio State's secondary was some kind of awful in that close call against Indiana, but Illinois' passing attack, or rather the lack thereof, should get the Buckeyes back on the right track. The Illini have just 4 passing touchdowns through 5 games, and there's no way they'll be able to run against Ohio State like they did against Nebraska. They ran for 285 yards and 4 touchdowns in that win. In a blowout, Justin Fields will also bounce back nicely from his 3-interception performance against the Hoosiers. Ohio State, this will be a next victim type game for them. 49-10, Ohio State all over Illinois in Champaign. Nothing more to say except MF, Ohio State and Indiana. What a game. 5-star classic.
Yeah, I gotta say it. Indiana almost got them. They almost had it. Ohio State dominated early. Looked like they were going to blow the doors off them. And then Indiana, they lit the fuse. It started going. And you're thinking, uh-oh, is this going to happen? Are they going to pull it off? And unfortunately, they did not have enough in the tank. They burned out at the end. But I'll honestly say it. Give it another 5 or 10 more minutes. We might have been talking about Indiana knocking off Ohio State, and down goes the Buckeyes out of the college football playoff conversation. We'd be talking about Indiana being in the college football playoff conversation, and Ohio State would have been out. But it is what it is. So yeah, I do believe they'll get the job done. I got Ohio State winning as well. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I gotta go with Ohio State as well. I mean, yeah, you were thinking that they were gonna blow out Indiana, but man, Indiana came back and they almost pulled it off, but Ohio State managed to hold on and keep themselves in the college football playoff picture. So, yeah, I'm going to go 51-10. Ohio State should not have a problem with Illinois. So, Florio, it is yours.
Next up in the high noon slate of action, we have the number 6, Florida Gators, at home at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville, Florida. They're going to be hosting the Kentucky Wildcats over on ESPN. Mark Jones, Dusty Dvoracek, and Marty Smith will be on the call. Florida opening up as a 25.5-point favorite here. So, MF, I think we all know how this goes.
Florida should win the game, no doubt about it. Kentucky had a moment earlier in the year where they pulled off a major upset, but I mean, this is a different team. This is a different attitude. This is a different look of a squad. I mean, if you think about it, not too long ago, um, off the heels of that major upset where they knocked off Tennessee, but they lost 3 out of their last 4, and then on top of that, they got railed by Alabama. I mean, you want to talk roll tide? They rolled them up 63-3. Ooh. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a 63-3 affair, but it's gonna be a pretty lopsided beatdown. Give it to Florida. They're gonna win this one. I mean, and plus on top of that, Florida winners of 4 in a row, including a pretty dominating performance over Vandy last week. Yeah, Florida's got this. Make it 5 in a row for the Gators. They're going to be chomping on some Wildcats on Saturday. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, the Gators are going to be chomping on those Kentucky Wildcats Saturday. So I got Florida winning this one. Florida, it is yours.
Yeah. Poor Kentucky. Just 7 days after losing by 60 to Alabama, it has to play another road game against a potent offense, likely to partake in the SEC championship game. Heisman hopeful Kyle Trask is probably going to shred a defense that has looked like a shell of its former self in recent weeks, especially if tight end Kyle Pitts is available for this game after missing the past 2.5 games with a concussion. All Florida, all the time. 45-19, Florida, all over Kentucky. Gator chomp indeed. So let's move on to our next high noon game here. We have the number 12, Indiana Hoosiers, coming off that tough luck loss to Ohio State. They're back at home at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana. They're going to be hosting the Maryland Terrapins, and this will be over on ESPN2. Roy Philpott, Kelly Stufer, and Dr. Jerry Punch on the call. Indiana opening up as a 10.5-point favorite. So Bullock, big question here is, can Indiana bounce back after that demoralizing loss to Ohio State where they almost knocked them out in the horseshoe?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of emotion coming out of this Indiana team. I mean, they were so close to pulling off the impossible and beating the Buckeyes, but yeah, it didn't turn out the way they wanted to at the end. So yeah, I expect them to bounce back in a pretty good way here, and maybe keep themselves in the college football playoff conversation. So yeah, there's nothing more to say. I got Indiana winning. Florida, it is yours.
Yeah, it's going to be Indiana here. I think Indiana will certainly bounce back from that tough loss here. Now, who would have thought this game 6 weeks ago would be circled as the battle for second place in the Big Ten East? There better not be a single hand up because nobody saw this coming. All the same, it should be fun to watch Taulia Tagovailoa and Michael Penix Jr. duke it out to see who remains the only one-loss team in the division. Though the Maryland offense was mighty impressive in its past 2 wins over Minnesota and Penn State, Maryland's porous defense will most likely be the difference here. The Terrapins have allowed 474 total yards a game, and Penix just torched Ohio State's secondary for 491 yards and 5 touchdowns. He should have another big day in this one. Indiana wins by 3 scores, 42-21. Indiana all over Maryland. So, MF, Indiana bounces back, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I kind of honestly believe that it's gonna be Indiana, and I got really nothing more to add. So, Anthony, let's just move on.
And our final high noon game will feature the number 23 Oklahoma State Cowboys hosting the Texas Tech Red Raiders, Boone Pickens Stadium, Stillwater, Oklahoma, on Fox with Joe Davis and Mark Helfrich. Oklahoma State opening up as an 11-point favorite here. So getting into this one, it didn't take long for Oklahoma State to free fall from quote unquote the Big 12's only hope for the college football playoff to probably won't even play for the conference championship. The Cowboys lost to Texas, barely squeaked by Kansas State, and then got smashed by Oklahoma. They could finish strong, though, with 3 games remaining against the bottom half of the conference. That starts with snapping out of their offensive funk against the Texas Tech defense that has been quite bad. Chuba Hubbard and Tylan Wallace have struggled lately, but they should both have banner days in this one. Oklahoma State, easy win here, 38-20. I got Oklahoma State all over T-Tech, so nothing more to say here. Let's move on to the late afternoon affairs, and we started it off with, the new darlings of college football. They keep on rolling, guys. The now number 20, and that is the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Yes, sir. And they're going to be squaring off against the Texas State Bobcats at Bobcat Stadium in San Marcos, Texas. It is not often we call that stadium, but that's where it is. It'll be over on that ESPN Plus, that pay-per-view stream or whatever that is, for any of you who might have it. And I'm trying to find it here. Well, I don't think it's going to be on my announcer. Well, actually, no, I got it. It'll be Brant Freeman with Keith Moreland. They'll be on the call, and Coastal Carolina opening up as a 16-point favorite. So let's look at this one here. For Coastal Carolina, I know I have it in here somewhere. All right. Similar to the Louisiana Monroe game, this is probably going to get ugly. Texas State has allowed at least 30 points in 7 consecutive games, and Coastal Carolina has had the most potent offense in the Sun Belt this season. The Bobcats will probably do a little bit of scoring, but I'm going to guess that Coastal Carolina punts fewer times than Texas State scores. It's kind of cool, though, that provided this game gets played, Texas State is going to play a full 12-game season. We had our doubts that anyone would pull that off this year. It's a shame it couldn't happen for a team that can actually play some defense, though. Coastal Carolina all over Texas State, 49-13. Keep their magic season going. So, MF, Chanticleers, they knocked off App State. Nothing stopping them now.
Nothing stopping them now, and I do believe Coastal Carolina will get yet another win. I do believe they'll end up taking down Texas State and give me Coastal Carolina to win. So, Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Bullock, are you there? 28. We might have lost Bullock for a moment. So we'll keep an eye on him for him to come back. But for right now, until we get Bullock back, it's time to move on to the other big game of the week. You can make an argument for this to be the game of the week as well, even though the scoreboard might not reflect it, but because of all the history between these two. 26. The Iron Bowl. The number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide hosting the number 22 Auburn Tigers from Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. And for the first time in a few weeks, it's going to be the SEC on CBS with Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, and Jamie Erdahl. I don't have a spread for this one. I would have to imagine Alabama's got to be a sizable favorite here. I would not at all be surprised. But MF, while we wait for Bullock to come back, if he does come back, MF will start it off. And what can I say, MF, except are you ready for another Iron Bowl? Auburn, Alabama. We know the history.
There's a lot of history. There's a lot of integrity. There's a lot of honor. There's a lot of pride in this one. It don't get no bigger than this. This is one of the creme a la creme of the rivalries in college football. You know, we talk about Texas and Oklahoma, Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, USC. This is one of those wars. This is one of those that if you win this game, you get to rub it in the other's face for 365 days. If you're the loser, you gotta think about this for the rest of your life. And trust me, there's been iconic moments. There's been great moments in this series. If you're an Auburn fan, you remember the year when Cam Newton brought you back from 24 down to take it from Alabama. That led you to the national championship game. Or, if you remember, the kick six that led to the biggest touchdown in Auburn history that the fans ended up storming the field and paid a $100,000 fine for. And trust me, Auburn didn't give a damn about that moment either. If you're Alabama, you remember those moments. But you remember there's been moments where you've ripped a couple of games from Auburn, knocked them off the perch in this battle. There's a rivalry, there's bad blood, there is tradition, and there's pride on the line. Even though Alabama is an overwhelming favorite at 24 points going into this, this is one of those battles where throw the point spread out the window. This is not next victim if you're Auburn, because you're thinking we just as much have a legit shot to knock them off. And heck, we've beaten Alabama in Alabama before. So it can be done. It could happen if it wanted to. Alabama is strong. They're powerful. They're offensively and defensively efficient. There's no chinks in the armor when it comes to Alabama. How does Auburn exploit it? You gotta punch Alabama in the mouth. You got to take it to them early and do not lay off of the gas. The minute you jump them, you attack. All phases of the game. Offense, defense, special teams if you need to. Because Bama will beat you in waves. And the thing is with Bama, they love to manipulate the game like the New England Patriots. They'll defer early in the game. They'll make sure that they get the ball first in the second half. What they'll like to do is get a touchdown at the end of the half, a touchdown on the first possession of the second half, and that's how they blow the game open on you. Because when they come out full guns blazing like that, where you're not down by 1, you're down by 3 scores, that's when they knock you out and they destroy you. This will be a lot closer than the experts have it. But I gotta go with Alabama. I'm gonna be very real with this. Bama is the most complete squad right now in college football. That's why they're the number 1 team in the college football ranking. They're the number 1 team in the nation right now. So for all that, Bama wins. But I do gotta say, keep an eye on Auburn. If they make this game close, if this gets into a territory in the fourth quarter where Bama's only ahead by maybe 3 to 7 points, if they're not a double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter, I would put upset alert in Tuscaloosa, because if they're not ahead by double digits going into the fourth quarter, Auburn could absolutely pull this off and knock out Alabama. And my God, what a moment that would be. You want to talk about the college football playoff turning upside down if Bama loses. Whoa. So there's nothing more to say. I got Bama winning, but like I said, if they're not leading by double digits going into that fourth quarter, keep a very close eye, because I think Auburn would have the guns, the necessary resources, and just the pure heart to pull the upset.
Absolutely. And, when you think about the Iron Bowl, you got to think about those legendary words that Uncle Vern Lundquist uttered out in 2013, which still to this day is the greatest Iron Bowl in history. Chris Davis, an answered prayer. Yeah, we all remember those words. Auburn with the kick six heard around the world winning that Iron Bowl. it is still, to me, in my opinion, the greatest Iron Bowl in history. We've had a few close ones over the years, but that to me is still the best one I've ever seen. I don't know about this one though. But MF made some very valid points on this, but at the end though, on one hand, anything can happen in the Iron Bowl. That's the point MF just tried to make. However, MF, on the other hand, Alabama has an average margin of victory north of 30 points this season, and it's the home team against an Auburn squad that has only looked particularly good in one of its 7 games, that 48-11 beatdown over LSU. Auburn did win this game last year, but it needed 2 pick sixes, home field advantage, and a trick play at the end to force a game-sealing penalty. It's not going to be that close at the end this time. I strongly believe this will be a next victim moment here. Bama will win this one comfortably. Another 3-score affair. 42-23, Alabama all over Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Bullock, I don't know if you're with us yet, but if you are, we'll catch you up. Oh, there he is. Okay. So Bullock, we got to catch you up on a couple games here. Coastal Carolina against Texas State and the Iron Bowl, Auburn and Alabama. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I got Coastal Carolina winning, and then of course the Iron Bowl. Yeah, as I gotta go, I'm gonna say this is a next victim thing. I mean, Alabama's just too good. I understand where Fletch is coming from, but you know what? You never know. We'll have to wait and see on it. So, but either way, no matter how you slice it, I got Alabama winning this one. Florio, it's yours.
All right. And we move on to our next 3:30 affair, which will be the number 3 Clemson Tigers back at home at Memorial Stadium in Columbia in Death Valley. And they're going to be hosting the Pittsburgh Panthers. And this will be over on ESPN. Sean McDonough, Todd Blackledge, Todd McShay, Molly McGrath. Clemson opening up as a 24-point favorite. Yeah, that last little bit there threw me off. So I had to have MF start. So Bullock, I'm just going to start it off with you here. Pittsburgh and Clemson. Clemson finally will have a chance to bounce back after that demoralizing loss to Notre Dame. I'm sure they'll be able to, right?
Oh yeah, they'll definitely be able to bounce back after that demoralizing loss to Notre Dame, and I think they should have no problem here. I got Clemson winning this one big, so Florio, it's yours.
Yeah. Well, what can you say? Speaking of potential rust, Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence has not played since October 24th. He missed the October 31 and November 7th game after testing positive for COVID-19. Clemson had a designed bye on November 14th, and it had an unexpected bye last week when its game against Florida State was postponed Saturday morning. Lawrence hasn't been particularly human thus far in his college career, so we expect he'll be more than fine. But it bears mentioning that Pittsburgh blew out both Florida State and Virginia Tech in its last 2 games, and surely has no intentions of simply kissing Clemson's rings here. It also bears mentioning that 5-4 Pittsburgh won at third-ranked Clemson in their only previous regular season meeting in 2016. I'm not picking the upset, but those are fun things to point out. Clemson bounces back. Pittsburgh will keep it close for about 3 quarters or so, but I think Clemson will ultimately pull away and win by at least 2 scores. 41-24, Clemson over Pittsburgh. And MF, you know Trevor Lawrence and them boys, they're chomping at the bits, man.
Oh, yeah, they're chomping at the bits, and I think Clemson's going to win this one and win it going away. So nothing more to add. Anthony, next game.
Yep, and we have another 3:30 affair here, and we're going to take it back to the Big Ten for this one. How about this, guys? The number 8, that's right, number 8, Northwestern Wildcats. They're going to be squaring off against the Michigan State Spartans at Spartan Stadium in East Lansing, Michigan, over on ESPN2. Clay Matvick, Rocky Boyman, and Taylor McGregor on the call. Northwestern opening up as a 13-point favorite. So, yeah, What can you say? I mean, how can you guys not be impressed by Northwestern? I mean, can Northwestern avoid the quote unquote emotional letdown game after its colossal win over then number 10 Wisconsin? The Wildcats are clearly the better team, and their opportunistic defense should have no problem shutting down a Michigan State offense that has a combined total of 7 points and 7 turnovers in its last 2 games. They still have to play the game, though, and the Wildcats' offense isn't exactly great. While I predict Northwestern will win comfortably, this could easily be one of those classic Big Ten football games with a 9-6 final score, and we all know how much MF would love that, but I don't think so. I think Northwestern will win comfortably, 27-7. Northwestern will kick the doors down in Michigan State and make themselves at home. So, nothing more to say. MF, you got yourself a darling in the Big Ten. Not just Indiana, but how about Northwestern, number 8? And they're going to be squaring off against Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan State got the biggest win of the season, knocking off Michigan, but has lost all their remaining games. And Northwestern 5-0. I mean, that's a remarkable story. This has been a topsy-turvy Big Ten year. Normally, Indiana and Northwestern is normally at the bottom, and this year they're rising, and they're proving that, regardless of this season, they're going to be a threat. And Northwestern, as of now, could be playing for the Big Ten title against Ohio State when this is all said and done. So this is a huge factor. Another big win for them. I think they'll get it. So give me Northwestern to knock off Michigan State. Nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, I got Northwestern winning this one as well. I mean, this team's definitely been a surprise team in the Big Ten. I mean, I don't think anybody would have predicted this team to play the way they are, but yeah. So all in all, I got Northwestern winning this one. So. Florio, let's move on.
And we move on to our final 3:30 game. We got 3 games left here. The number 18 USC Trojans back at home at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. They're going to be hosting the Colorado Buffaloes over on ABC. It'll be Anish Shroff, Tom Luginbill, and Allison Williams on the call. USC opening up as an 11.5-point favorite. So, MF, USC back at home at the Coliseum, number 18. Every game has been a close call. Will this be another close call against Colorado?
I believe it will. It'll be another close call, but this time I do believe USC will get the win as well. They're at home. Normally when you're at home, that fares very well. So, no, I'm going to say USC wins, but it's going to be close. So, really nothing more to say. Mike Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I got USC winning this one as well. I mean, I think they shouldn't have any problems whatsoever with this one since they are at home. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. Wario, it's yours.
Yeah. After opening the season with high-stress fourth quarters against Arizona State and Arizona, USC cruised to victory at Utah in what originally looked like one of the stiffest tests on the Trojan schedule. Now they host a Colorado team that has been overpowering with its rushing attack, but prone to major lapses in the secondary. In just 2 games, the Buffaloes have allowed 10 passing plays of at least 20 yards, and USC's Keaton Slovis already has 16 completions that have gone for 20+. Jarek Broussard, 154 rushing yards a game, will keep Colorado close for a while, but the Buffs won't be able to keep up with Slovis chunk games. USC wins this one, 38-28, USC over Colorado. So really nothing more to say here. And we have a couple games left here on our docket, and we move on to our 2 remaining games in the prime time, both in the SEC. 7 o'clock kickoff over on ESPN. It will be the number 5 Texas A&M Aggies at home at Kyle Field in College Station, hosting the LSU Tigers. and it'll be Bob Wischusen, Dan Orlovsky, and Chris Budden. I don't have a spread for this one. I would imagine A&M's got to be the favorite here. So, MF, the last time these two teams played here, it was the greatest regular season game in college football history when A&M outlasted LSU 74-72 in 7 overtimes.
Yep.
Surely that's not going to happen again here.
No, that should not happen this time around. A&M 14.5 point favorite, Anthony, just to give you that schematic. And I got Texas A&M winning over LSU. Nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I got Texas A&M winning this one over LSU as well. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to add. So, I give it to you, Florio.
Yes. See, it has been a while since we got a chance to see Texas A&M. The Aggies were surging on offense in wins over Arkansas and South Carolina prior to postponing games each of the past 2 weeks. If they acquired any rust during that time off, the good news is they get to ease back into the swing of things with a home game against an LSU defense that has been terrible. Even in the win over Arkansas last week, the Tigers allowed 443 total yards. Kellen Mond will avenge last year's disastrous performance against LSU, where he went 10 of 30 for 92 yards and 3 interceptions in a relatively convincing win. A&M wins 38-23 over LSU. Final game of the week and the final game of the night here on Football Feast. The number 9, Made in Georgia Bulldogs. They'll be heading up to Columbia, South Carolina to take on the Gamecocks at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia. SEC Network is where you'll find this one. Taylor Zarzar, Matt Stinchcomb, and Alyssa Lang will be on the call. The Made in Georgia Bulldogs opening up as 3 touchdown favorites. They're opening up as 21-point favorites. So I believe Michael Bullock closes things out here. So Bullock, Made in Georgia against South Carolina. South Carolina just fired their coach, Will Muschamp. Definitely some hard times for the Gamecocks, and it's only going to get worse with Made in Georgia coming in.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse for the Gamecocks when you know you're going to be facing the Maine and Georgia Bulldogs here. So Georgia, I think, is going to have no problem with them and make things even worse for the Gamecocks. So nothing more to say. Florio, what's yours?
Yeah, it's going to be Made in Georgia here. No question about this. After allowing at least 48 points in 3 consecutive games, at least South Carolina's defense finally provided some resistance this past weekend. Too bad the offense stunk out loud in a 17-10 loss to Missouri. Meanwhile, Kirby Smart finally let JT Daniels on the field to lead Georgia's offense, and he promptly threw for 401 yards and 4 touchdowns. South Carolina stunned Georgia last year, but there's just no way that's happening here. The Gamecocks are too far gone, and the Bulldogs found something that works. 35-13, Georgia all over South Carolina. MF, put a bow on this thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Georgia as well. I think that they're just too powerful of a team. This is just not going to be a good game at all. So, yeah, you're right, Anthony. Georgia wins. Nothing more to say. Let's call it a night.
All right, and that will put the bow on this 9th annual Strictly Sports Football Feast. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We're taking tomorrow off for Thanksgiving, no show, but we'll be back with you on Friday night. F channel Brace Fan 95 for the Wrestling Forum version of the Football Feast. This will be the Wrestling Feast, if you will. A special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk. Not only are we going to get into Friday Night SmackDown, but we're also going to get into tonight's installments of AEW Dynamite and NXT. We'll get into all that on Friday night with MF. Saturday night, we'll be back here on the Tone 25 for the Week 12 edition of where we will continue Week 12 of the NFL on NFL Saturday, including the showdowns with the Ravens and the Steelers, and which has been moved. Chiefs and Buccaneers, so many other great games to get into. We'll get into that on Saturday, and then start it all over again with Ridiculously Raw next week. So that'll do it for this. So until Friday night for that huge edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, it's Anthony Florio here for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, good old MF Michael Fletcher, the Twisted Angel D.D. Woodson, and always and forever the Hardcore Pipe Bomb FKG 401 Dark Forever. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other, especially tomorrow because it is Thanksgiving. There's no other day we can all be good to each other than that one. So be extra good to each other tomorrow for Thanksgiving. No doubt about that. And until Friday night for that, you've been watching the 9th annual Strictly Sports Football Feast right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye. And from all of us to all of you out there, have a safe and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.